Hi, my name is Rachel Watkins with the Catholic Homeschool Virtual Conference. And today I'm with Everett Byarski with Kolbe Academy. Hello, Everett. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me, Rachel. It's a pleasure to be here. We're excited about the conference.
We are so pleased and grateful, especially because Kolbe is a silver sponsor for this year's event. Now, for anyone listening, Kolbe is a well-known Catholic online full curriculum homeschool program. But I know there are people at our event who are new to homeschooling. Please give us a history of Kolbe.
Absolutely, Rachel. Thank you. Kolbe was founded in 1980 by three families there in Napa, California, who they weren't happy with the options they had for their children.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to have an education that was faithfully Catholic, and that would provide a quality classical education for their students. So from those three families, they hired a teacher, recruited a couple of other students, and rented a little bit of space and started a school in 1980. And if you think about it, you think back, go, wow, that is something else.
Yeah.
And certainly it's the only way that happens is by divine providence. As the school began to grow, in 1987, there were families who lived too far away to attend locally, but they wanted that education for their children. And so it started off as the principal writing out a daily or monthly reading list and an assignment list and saying, here's the things that you can do with your students at home, just grew into kind of organically into a homeschooling program. And so you started, we had a couple dozen students, then you had 100 students, and then you had 300 students, and just continued to grow and grow, throughout the mid 90s, started hiring full-time staff to support the homeschool program as parents saw the value in this kind of support of both educational materials, but also the support framework for families who are maybe coming to homeschooling for the first time and trying to figure out what all was involved. By 2008, it had grown sufficiently up into the range of about 2,000 students across the nation and around the world. The decision was made to separate the day school from the homeschool into two separate organizations to allow the organizations to really focus on their own schooling. So the day school continues in operation as our sister school there in Napa. And then in 2013, after spending a couple of years evaluating options to expand and support for families in using modern technology, much like our patron, St. Maximilian Kolbe, used modern technology to spread the gospel, we made the decision to start offering online classes. And from what we thought was just going to be a trial of 4 to 6 classes, we ended up offering 24 classes that first year. We tripled in size the next year. And clearly there's demand for that as well. So since that time, we've expanded. We now have, in addition to the full pre-K through 12 homeschool program, which we also have a full pre-K through 12 online program, as well as a number of asynchronous courses in grade 6 to 12.
That's so exciting. I'm a long enough homeschooler that I remember those early days with Kolbe, and I am so encouraged with these parents being the primary educators for their kids, which is what we're all called to be. And some families choose to put their children in an appropriate school, but so many of us now are embracing doing it at home. And I'm curious, did you guys see a bump in attendance in the recent pandemic?
Absolutely. That fall, when families started to realize that things were not going back to normal, that their schools weren't going to be reopening, we had a huge rush of enrollments. We added about 1,000 students in 6 weeks.
Wow.
Which was a number that we were prepared for growth. We weren't prepared for that kind of growth.
Yeah.
So our online teachers went from teaching 2 classes to teaching 4 classes. We had to be hiring additional advisors to support all those families who were coming to us. But it was one of the beautiful things that we saw, after that year, because we weren't sure, and parents weren't sure what was going to happen, ongoing. Many parents anticipated just kind of returning back to what they were doing before. But as they experienced that opportunity to be a part of their children's education, to see what their children were doing, to be a part of what their children were doing, to have some of that family time to spend together, for siblings to spend time together, they realized how beautiful it was. And so we found that somewhere 65% of those families ended up staying with homeschooling afterwards, which has just been a delight and really beautiful to see parents starting to realize and just embrace even a little bit more than what they're already doing, that role of being a primary educator, and seeing and looking for those opportunities.
I like that. It is. We've had that same situation where I am here. Now, I know that you have so many things you're proud of with Kolbe, but one thing that I think a lot of families will be very impressed with is that you have a real flexibility built into your school. You call it like mix and match, like a Chinese dinner menu, column A and B and C. Could you elaborate on that for us?
Of course. Yeah. One of the, we obviously the parent being the primary educator is fundamental to who we are as an organization, built on the principle of subsidiarity. And so as a result of that, we want to, while we are a school, we're accredited as a school, we want to be able to provide the things that parents need and students need. And so when a family enrolls with us, if they choose to enroll with us and make us their school of record, they're going to have an assigned family advisor who is going to help them customize their plan for each of their children. So some of them may do entirely homeschool. Some of them may do entirely online. Some of them may do a mix and match. They may do some online courses and some homeschool courses. And then even within those, that advisor can help depending on what you're in high school, depending on what your graduation plan is. Maybe you're hoping to head into a math and science field. They're going to be able to help you customize that educational plan over the course of those 4 years to make sure that you have what you need. Similarly, if there's maybe you're involved in a local co-op and that's been working really well for you, in your science program, perhaps, and they've got some great labs, and you would like to continue to be involved in doing that, that's something that we can facilitate. That can still go on to your transcript as long as it meets some basic requirements for us as far as being grade level appropriate material. And so those courses can be submitted to us for approval at the beginning of the year. And then when we receive samples at the end of the year, they're going to go onto your transcript alongside all the rest of your regular Kolbe courses. So again, right, it's that high degree of flexibility and working to support the needs of families to then provide that quality education that they're looking for, and we can help all throughout.
I like that. And I want to emphasize one thing that you said so that people get this. Each family has an advisor to help them walk through their kids' education. That is one aspect of homeschooling that you'll get people pushback on. It's like, I won't know how to get my kids into college. I won't know what courses for them to take. You help families with that, don't you?
Absolutely. And the family advisor is designed to be really a support for you. Every one of our advisors is assigned to a group of families. And those families are going to stay with that advisor throughout the family's time here at Kolbe. So they're going to be working with them for a number of years on ends. That advisor is going to get to know the family and the family's needs. And they're going to get to know the different children, because one of the beauties of homeschooling is that you can customize that what worked really well for one child doesn't work for another child. And they'll get to know the difference between a family's 11th grader and the family's 7th grader and what those needs look like. So it's a relationship building. That advisor is available throughout the year. The advisor will be reaching out a number of times just to check in. They can make appointments with them. Really, the goal is just trying to identify what those needs of the family are, and then seeing what can Kolbe do to help you meet them.
Well, that's excellent. I'm glad we spent this time together. Now, before we say goodbye, any last things about Kolbe, but I hope you can share a few words of confidence and inspiration to our attendees, because as you know, homeschooling can be a very intimidating thing. We can think that we're not qualified. We can think that we're not capable of doing it. But if God has put this on our heart, if the Holy Spirit has inspired us to do this, we can do it, can't we?
Absolutely. Well, I think you just said the two key things are. The first one is regarding qualifications. A lot of people think that they aren't qualified to homeschool because they don't have an educational background. They don't have the right college degree. Maybe they don't even have a college degree at all. And they think that as a result of that, they can't homeschool. And that's simply not true. Especially here, now that in 2023, the number of resources that are available for Catholic homeschoolers is incredible. And so there are courses that you can do at home if you're comfortable with them. There are courses that you can do online through a number of providers. There are people who can support you. There are local homeschool groups. There are online homeschool groups. Programs like Kolbe Academy that have services, can help with record keeping. There are a lot of things out there. And by the virtue of you being a parent, you are qualified to homeschool your children in whatever kind of format that happens to look like for you. And the second piece is people think a lot of time that they aren't doing a good job of educating their children. And I think part of that's because they have this idea of what school looks like. And so if they aren't doing all of those things that are happening at a traditional school, that somehow they aren't doing a good job of educating their children. And that's simply not true. We see so many families coming through here and so many children coming through, and it is the work that homeschooling parents do in providing education for their children is extraordinary. And we can't say enough good about what they're doing and what they're accomplishing for their children. And a lot of times they think they aren't doing a good job, and it's not true. They're doing a great job. And you'll see that. You'll see that in the measures that society use in GPAs and in test scores and things. So you'll see those pieces certainly, but even more than that, in the formation the students are receiving. That One of my favorite things you mentioned, homeschool conferences. We used to have brick and mortar homeschool conference regularly. They're starting to come back. One of my favorite things about attending those is meeting all of the homeschool students there. Because the homeschool students at those conferences are the students, it's the seventh grader who comes up to your table, starts flipping through your books and starts talking, and he picks up one of the books and says, this is one of my favorite books. I love this book so much. Normal middle schoolers don't talk to adults. They don't come up and start conversations to adults that they don't have a pre-existing relationship with. That isn't a normal thing in society, but it's a sign of a healthy and mature, young man or woman. And that's the thing, I think, more than anything else that we see in homeschooling families and homeschooling children. And that for me is a huge example of evidence of parents doing a phenomenal job. So thank you to all the parents who are coming to the conference. I hope you find some great resources, great help, and are encouraged to know that, yes, this is something that you can do.
Absolutely. You're echoing all of our sentiments at the conference as well. We are doing a great job. We can let ourselves feel that confidence, but we are also so grateful for organizations like yours that have the resources and the people who help us fill in the gaps that we have educationally or our own insecurities about things like science or advanced math. Well, I want to thank you for your time, Everett. This was a wonderful opportunity to get to know you and Kolbe Academy a bit more. I want to encourage everyone, please register to go to the conference. It's June 9th and 10th. You can go to CatholicHomeschoolConference.com to register an attendee. And while you're there, head over to Kolbe Academy booth and say hello. God bless to everyone and goodbye. Thanks again, Everett.
Thank you, Rachel. Look forward to seeing everyone at the conference.